I've taken two trends and mashed them together to make one creative cookie. I'm told we've hit peak Dubai chocolate, which were the shiny, crunchy, creamy, and overhyped chocolate bars. And the other was the Levain New York-style cookie. It was tall, gooey, also maybe overhyped. I'm not sure. It's a really good cookie and one I've always wanted to share with you. And with so many Levain-style recipes out there, I wanted to share with you the Cupcake Jemma recipe with a few changes because it's one that's really worked for me.
Let's start by creaming 190 grams of cold unsalted butter and adding 30 grams of sweet pistachio oil. The kind I had left over from making pistachio cream for the Dubai chocolate bars. You can check out my video on that below. It's been in the fridge so it's solid like a rock, like in rock, paper, scissors, good old rock. Nothing beats rock. But if you don't have pistachio oil, you can sub in some solid coconut oil or just use 227 grams or an 8-ounce block of butter. Good old butter. Nothing beats butter. Here's an important tip with regard to adding more oil instead of butter.
I read a lot of recipe books, blondies, cookies, cakes, all kinds of things. And one thing that stuck with me was a tip from a peanut butter blondie recipe I read a few years back that talked about balance. They reduced the butter in the peanut butter version to account for the added fat from the peanut butter. Now, that really stuck with me because I hadn't really thought about it much. Because when you start swapping or adding different fats, whether it's nut butter, oil in this case, or anything else, you can't just tack it on and hope for the best. You have to balance the total fat or the recipe can fall apart. Too much fat can make a cookie greasy, or worse, it can flatten out, which completely defeats the purpose of a Levain-style cookie. So when I decided to use pistachio oil in this recipe, I knew I had to dial back the butter. And as a last piece of advice, oil behaves differently from butter too. It absorbs into the flour better, which makes the cookie more tender and moist, and that's a good thing. But that extra tenderness comes at a cost, the structure of the cookie, which is why we need to do a few things to help it, like chilling the dough, but that's not until later.
Okay, once that's nicely combined, I'm adding 160 grams of white sugar and 160 grams of light brown sugar. This combo gives the best of both worlds. The white sugar helps with the structure and height, and the brown sugar brings sweetness and just enough crispness around the body and edges. While that mixes up, I'm chopping up about 100 grams total of pistachios and pecans. I think it's more pecan than pistachio, again, all about balance. There is the pistachio oil, and I'm putting in the pistachio cream, so I don't want it to be too heavy on the pistachio flavor. Then the mix-ins go in. That's 100 grams of the pistachio and pecans, chopped, 250 grams of chocolate chunks and chips, and again, that's up to you. I added chips because they keep their shape, and I added chunks for more chocolate, but I did filter out those little specks when you chop it up. And this is a mix of semi-sweet, dark, and milk chocolate. And I'm adding 85 to 100 grams of leftover kataifi from the Dubai bars I made. They're toasted lightly and crushed so that they weave and give a little bit of texture throughout the dough. Last comes the pistachio cream. I'm dropping in about 60 grams into it using my hands because I want to evenly distribute it throughout. After the mix-ins, it's time for the dry ingredients. Start with 300 grams of all-purpose flour and then 200 grams of self-rising flour, a quarter teaspoon of baking soda, and a quarter teaspoon of salt or 1 or 2 big pinches. Whisk the dry ingredients together and then add it to the mixing bowl until just combined. You don't have to overmix, we aren't done. Then I add 2 large eggs whisked ahead of time. I like this about the Cupcake Jemma recipe. They use the eggs at the end as a binder, which I really appreciate it. And I mix it until the dough holds together. Now listen, this part is important. You need about 500 grams of total mix-ins for this recipe. They're not optional.
If you remove the nuts or skimp out on the kataifi or chocolate, the cookie could start to spread and fall flat, which sort of defeats the purpose. The style of cookie depends on the volume. I mean, it's like architectural, if you will. So if you don't like nuts, just add more chocolate.
I formed about 125 gram dough balls. One trick is to put plastic wrap around your kitchen scale for easy cleanup. And the more you do it, the better you get at eyeballing it to about 125 grams. Chill them in the freezer for 20 to 30 minutes, but you can always do that overnight. This is optional, but again, I want it to hold its shape. I bake these at 410 degrees Fahrenheit or 210 Celsius for between 12 and 14 minutes until the edges and tops are golden, but they look almost done. If you don't see that golden top, let it go for another minute or two max. Let them rest on the pan for 15 minutes. They'll finish baking as they cool down. So here's a little secret I can share with you if you want your cookies to be a little extra special. This is before you bake them. I took the pistachio cream I had left over and rolled them into little balls and froze them. You can try using a melon baller, but my hands were easier. I took a few chilled cookie dough balls and cracked open a few in half and popped one ball in the center for a little extra creamy bite in the cookie. That's up to you, but I thought I would share that. After 15 minutes on the pan, you want to transfer them to a wire rack to finish cooling, and one sign I like to check is for a crispy bottom to make sure that the center isn't too undercooked. I personally don't like raw cookie middles, as is all the rage online sometimes.
All right, now that they're done and cooled down, let's just crack one open. And I got my New York coffee over here. All right, you ready? Oh yeah. Soft in the middle. Definitely crunchy on the outside. Pistachio-y, full of chocolate. Oh, you can see the kataifi. Oh my God. I mean, come on. It's not overly raw. It is soft in the middle. I like that. It's not too gooey. But the textures on the outside and the inside are different. Oh my God. Forget it. Like, I don't care if you subscribe or don't subscribe. I don't care. This is the best. This is the remix I needed. Like Encore and Numb with a cookie crumb. What's a mashup that you want to see? Thank you, thank you. You've been far too kind. I'll see you in the next one.